Okay, we're going to record this too, by the way, by request. Hang on just a second. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is David Walker. I'm the director of the Shasta-Cascade Small Business Development Center. And thank you for joining us for Tax Record Keeping Made Easy. We have with us David Castaneda from the SBA, who's going to provide a brief overview of the programs available for the SBA to help out entrepreneurs. And we have Joe Rodola, who knows all, sees all, and hears all when it comes to tax record keeping made easy. So for that, I'm going to turn it over at this point to Mr. Castaneda. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. And again, my name is David Castaneda. I'm an economic development specialist with the Small Business Administration. We're a federal agency, so we're in every state in the United States, including Puerto Rico and Guam. Part of our resources that we have through the Resource Partners Network cover every county in the United States. So there's a lot of good resources that are out there, and I'm going to go ahead and get started, and we're going to cover some of those things. So currently the SBA is part of the economic relief that is going on for small businesses. And we just got a recent brand new PowerPoint that will talk about this. And so we're going to go ahead and get started on that. And this again is the economic relief due to the COVID that is going throughout the United States currently. Where we are, pretty much what's going on with that, we are now on the second round of the stimulus that has been put out to not only small businesses, but in a lot of other areas to help citizens and businesses throughout the United States. In regards to the SBA, this is the second round that just started again, and this is what is available currently, and it's up and running. So we have the Paycheck Protection Program, which is a very good program. It's a forgivable loan program. It's designed to pay for not only a sole proprietor's salary for a period of 8 to 24 weeks, but also employees' salary for a period of 8 to 24 weeks. And that's per person up to $100,000 for each person, okay? And it's a forgivable loan if you use it in the right way, which is for paying for payroll, okay? The next program that's available is a debt relief on SBA 7A loans and 504 and microloans. These are loans that SBA backs, and it's a partnership between national lenders, community lenders, and credit unions and nonprofits. So if you happen to be an individual that has a current SBA backed loan, SBA, and this is the second time we've done this on throughout these programs, SBA will be paying part of those loan payments for the borrowers. Some of them it's up to 3 months, some of them it's up to 8 months. It just depends where you fall and if in the different criterias. Okay, so that's another program that's out there. The next one is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan and the Targeted Economic Injury Loan Advance. The Economic Injury Disaster Loan, that is a straight loan from the SBA. Interest rate 3.75%. For nonprofits, it's 2.75%. Once you get the funds from the SBA, you have up to 30 years to pay it back, which means over a 30-year period, you make monthly payments throughout the 30-year period. And also, once you do get the funds, you have 1 year before you start making those payments. Okay. The next one is a new one that just came out and it's to help the industry that has concerts where you sell tickets to different events that you may have. If you have a business like that, this is called the Shutter Venue Operators Grant. So that is to help that industry get back on their feet. So these are the items we're going to cover. And so the first one, again, is the Paycheck Protection Program. So this one, oh, by the way, folks, these PowerPoints will be made available to you. So after this, they will be sent to you by email. Also, I'm coming to you from Northern California up in the Sierra Mountains. Every now and then, internet does cut out. So if it does, I'll try to get back and continue. Thank you for your patience on that. Again, the Paycheck Protection Program, this is the second round of this program. There is something that we call the first draw and the second draw. The first draw is for individuals that have never received a Paycheck Protection Program forgivable loan. So it's made available to those individuals. On this second round for the Paycheck Protection Program, anyone that's interested in applying for this forgivable loan, you do have to do it before the 31st of March of this year. Also, the other thing they talk about is this program will run as long as there's funds available, okay? So if you're thinking about it, my advice to you is do it now, okay, as soon as you can. Okay, so we do have the first draw, and that again is for individuals that never did receive the Paycheck Protection Program in the first place. So they talk about the eligibilities for receiving this loan and to apply for it. Okay. The second round is for individual business owners that have received the first Paycheck Protection Program when we had it earlier, several months ago when we had it, and it was last year. Okay, so if you're going for a second Paycheck Protection Program loan, you can, but there are more criteria that you do have to look at. Okay, so again, it's a little bit more where you have to meet certain things. For example, you have to have no more than 300 employees. You have to demonstrate at least 25% reduction in gross receipts. So there's a little bit more things you do have to show before you're eligible. Okay. The application process for the Paycheck Protection Program is you do have to work through a lender. Okay, so you wouldn't come to the SBA, you'd go through a lender, you'd complete an application, and then from there, the lender works with the SBA. SBA issues a loan number. Okay, so you would have to work with a lender. You would not come through the SBA for the Paycheck Protection Program. The lender would give you the money to help you through this. And then eventually the forgiveness part, again, you would work with the lender to fill out the forms for the forgiveness part of this loan. Okay, let's see. They talk about also the Paycheck Protection Program. If for some reason the borrower doesn't use the loan in the right way, which means for payroll, you can use it for other things too, and it's spelled out in these PowerPoints, but I'm trying to get through this fairly quick because there's a lot of slides. But if you don't use it in the proper way and you do have to pay it back, it's at a 1% interest rate. Okay, so they do have some ways in there to help people if it's not used in the proper way. Okay, but if you do use it in the proper way, it can be 100% forgiven. All right, so let's see. There's also more information about this through the IRS. And again, the good thing, folks, is the Small Business Development Center. Mr. Walker and Joe work there at the Small Business Development Center in Northern California. They can help you through this at no cost. Okay, so that's the good part, is they can work with you, answer a lot of your questions if you have more questions, okay? The next program we have is the EIDL loan. We call it the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. Again, this is a direct loan from the federal government. This has been extended to the end of this year, 31st of December. Again, for-profit business, the interest rate is 2.75. If it's a nonprofit, I'm sorry, if it's a for-profit, it's 3.75% interest. If it's a nonprofit, it's 2.75%. Once you get the funds from the federal government, which is the SBA, you have 1 year before you have to start making those payments. And then once you start making those monthly payments, that's spread out over a 30-year period, okay? So that has been ongoing. And the other program, which is sort of related to the EIDL, we call it the Target EIDL Advance. This one is an interesting one. It says no action required until contacted by the SBA via direct email invite. So what this is individuals that previously requested or applied for the EIDL advance that did not get it or did not get the full amount, the SBA is going to go back to them to see if they still want to apply for the EIDL advance. So it is sort of, you had to have applied for it previously to be able to be contacted by the SBA. The other thing too, it used to be the EIDL advance would be deducted if you also apply for the Paycheck Protection Program. In other words, so you're not double dipping, getting two different grants. But now they changed the rules. They said even if you did get it prior, the EIDL advance, which is a grant, and the Paycheck Protection Program, which is a forgivable loan, now what the new rule is, you can get them both. So they will make sure through SBA that you do get them both. They're both forgivable. So that's a really good change that was made. Okay, we're going to keep going. So that's again the targeted advance. Okay, targeted advance. Again, people that have applied for the EIDL advance, they will be contacted by the SBA. So there's really nothing anyone new can do. You have to be contacted by the SBA. The only other new one we have is called the Shutter Venue Operators Grant. Application's not yet open. Okay, so it's they're still working on all the processes and information in the background through the SBA because it is a new program. So we'll need sam.gov registration to apply. So if you are an industry or a business that you think falls into this category, sam.gov is almost like a database on the internet where you have to go and register your business and all your information on there at no cost. Okay, so that's a federal database that you do have to put your business information in there before you can apply for this program. So if that's something that you're interested in, again, connect with your local small business development center and they can walk you through this. Okay, and again, this is to help the industry where you have a live venue where pretty much you're selling tickets to make your money for people to come in to watch performances, things like that. Okay, it's again, we don't know exactly when it's going to open, but it is coming soon. Okay, so we're going to keep going. SBA backed loans, again, if you have a loan backed by the SBA, you will be contacted to help so SBA can pay those 3 months up to 8 months of monthly payments for you. Okay, so that is something the SBA will connect with you on that. Key takeaways. Again, these are the programs that are going right now: the Paycheck Protection Program, the Debt Relief Program, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, where it's a direct loan to the SBA, the Target EIDL Advance, and that's if you applied for the EIDL Advance in the first place. SBA is connecting with those individuals again to make sure they got the funds they needed. And the last one is the Shutter Venue Operators Grant. Okay, so again, I mentioned where you can get free assistance and more help with this through the SBDC nationwide. You can connect with the consultants. It's at no cost to help you with all these different economic programs. Not only the SBA, the federal is doing this, but there's also other, sometimes state, local, county, city grants that are available. Many times the SBDC consultants are aware of this. Women's Business Center is another program under the SBA, the Veteran Business Outreach Center and SCORE. If you're interested in any of these programs, please look at sba.gov. And you can find your local resource there. In Northern California, the SBDC Finance Center is a good place to go if you need help with any of these programs. But again, connecting with your local small business development center there in Redding is a wise choice that they can help you move along and answer your questions. I think that's it on here. We have information if you feel that you are a victim of fraud or identity theft in regards with any of these programs that we have, because that is happening out there. We have a hotline where you can connect with SBA and get some information and guidance. And that's it. I will stop here. I will be here to the end of the presentation to answer any questions. And I'm sorry I went so fast, just a lot of information. So Dave, I'll hand it back over to you. And thank you.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Mr. Castaneda. Very much appreciate it. A lot of different things going on of late with the SBA and different programs available to everyone. If you have any questions during this time, during any part of the presentation, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll get them to Joe Rodola as he goes through his part of it. And so I'll turn it over to you, Joe.
Thank you very much, David. The David Show. All right. Good morning, everybody. My screen showing okay?
We're seeing you. You need to share your presentation if you're.
Let me do that again.
While he's doing that, we are recording this, and we'll be sending you a link to the recording, and we'll be sending you all the slides as well.
Is it showing yet? Sorry.
It's showing now. Looking good. Thanks.
Thanks, David. Well, welcome again, everybody. This will be kind of a truncated version of the 1-hour class that is offered. By the way, check into our Shasta-Cascade SBDC class lists. We've got webinars, a ton of them. So it's well worth your while to sign up for free services at our website, which you will have at the end of this presentation. And one of the last slides, you will be receiving this slide deck as well. Anyway, welcome to Tax Planning and Preparation. We again, Shasta-Cascade Small Business Development Center, a nonprofit organization and funded by the SBA and state of California through GoBiz. All our services are at least no charge to you now. How's that? Thank you for paying your taxes, however. And we are a confidential, no-cost advisory and training service. And we're spending a lot more time with webinars since Zoom has become available and necessary during COVID. This is our disclaimer real quick. Basically, this is information only. I'm not a CPA. I am not an attorney. We do not have any of those people on staff purposely. So we always say to check with your CPA, check with your attorney if you want to go into it deeper. So that is our standard disclaimer. And there's me. Been around the horn a few times. Although I'm not a tax guy, I'm definitely involved in the credit industry and have been involved, especially during this, the car fire and camp fire that occurred in Northern California a couple of years ago, as well as COVID, been involved with all of the disaster loan programs available. And we ran into situations here that necessitated the idea of bringing a easy income and expense tax version designed for sole proprietorships. Sole proprietorships, we found, were having an issue being able to come up with some of these fundings because their financials were rudimentary. They weren't up to speed, okay? So this class is not for corporations. This is not technically for LLCs, okay, limited liability. This is a sole proprietor class, okay? So if you own a business, I happen to own a little one myself, sole proprietor. Sole proprietor normally means, like in my case, if the good Lord calls me up right now, my business is done because all my business comes from up here. So I deliver information. So if you have a sole proprietor service business, especially, even if you're cleaning gutters or mowing lawns or cutting hair or doing nails, all these sole proprietorships, we know how to do what we do, but a lot of times we don't know how to do the numbers. So this is what this is particularly set up for on this webinar. So basically what we're talking about is tracking income and expenses, okay? Obviously you do it because you want to gauge whether your business is profitable or not. Are you going to stay in business? That's always important. It's also important to track it because you need to make adjustments, right? A lot of people had to pivot. The word pivot has come into play so often now, it's nuts. You had to pivot your business. Maybe you weren't online, now you're online. Maybe you were selling stuff live in your place. Now you're doing online sales. Restaurants, wow, talk about pivot, right? You used to have people inside, people waited on you. That's changed, huh? Takeout, outside tents. So again, making adjustments. Can you make any money? Can you, as the owner, get any money? And of course, assist financial institutions and investors in making loans to you. Whether you need to borrow money for expansion or whether you needed to borrow money for this COVID-19 disaster, all the things David talked about a few minutes ago, a lot of them require this information. You have to send it to them. You need to know where to get it, right? So that's what this is, and obviously, unfortunately, I guess fortunately or unfortunately, you have to pay. This is what tells you how to pay taxes. Now, death and taxes, right? The only two things you know are going to happen in life. So there you go. There's ways to track income. We have a lovely lady, Rebecca, who is our QuickBooks specialist. Fabulous QuickBooks training. A lot of people that are in business use QuickBooks. It's one of the most used small business accounting programs in America today. So you can go that route, online. You can get the software, put it in your computer, right? But the first 5 years I was in operation, for instance, I've been in business now 10 years, my 11th year coming up in May. First 5 years I tracked on a spreadsheet. Okay, at least I did that. And the first year I had a shoebox with a slit in the top. I put all the receipts in. That's how simplified I was operating. Okay, so it's based here on how complex your bookkeeping is going to be. If you have accounts receivable, people are going to pay you later and you have to track that. If you have a lot of different income sources, it will probably lean you towards a bookkeeper, an accountant, a CPA, and perhaps QuickBooks. Okay, but you can do it yourself. You can. Okay, will you have employees? Key issue. If you have employees, I'll tell you what, it's a very involved situation. You can use QuickBooks to do payroll. Okay, I did it 20 years ago. So, and I used QuickBooks, one of the earlier versions. It was a 1998 version, as a matter of fact, of QuickBooks, which was pretty cool. In those days, we sent checks to the state. We didn't have electronic downloads. Now you do that on electronic. But anyway, suffice it to say, if you have staff, probably need something a little more involved than what we're about to talk about. What forms of payment do you accept? Obviously, will sales be immediate or delayed? We talked about accounts receivable. And do you need bookkeeping software? All right, so let's go ahead and see if I can make this work. This is always kind of fun when I get to this part. Simplified Excel spreadsheet. That pop up, Dave? You're shaking yes. Cool. All right. So this is a neat thing we're going to go ahead and send to you, which is it came off the internet at some time or another. Many years back, I pulled it. It's a simplified income and expense, especially for a sole proprietorship. This is ABC Company, as you can see. I changed it to 2021, so we have the new year in there. And it's a fill in the blank, pretty simple. As you go through the numbers here, you have total sales at the top of the page, months of the year running across the top. So you have your income sources. You can add lines if you have more than one income source, okay? You can just drop it down and add more lines. In this particular case, it's just total sales for the month. If you're selling a product, a lot of people always had a question about what COGS was, cost of goods. So if I'm selling this watch and I paid $1 for the watch when I bought it wholesale from a supplier, and I sell it to you for $5, so the sale would be $5, cost of goods $1, okay? Because that's how much it costs you to get it. So that's mostly cost of goods for retail and food service. Service businesses like me, where I sell people the ability to get their credit checked. I teach classes, I charge for. That's a service. I don't have a cost of goods. Cost of goods is zero. Most service businesses are cost of goods zero. These terms are good to know, okay? In fact, cost of goods is one of the questions on the EIDL loan, the disaster loan application that you just heard about from David. Yeah, cost of goods is one of the requested things. And people were constantly saying, oh my gosh, what's my cost of goods? You know, and a lot of service businesses is zero. There is no cost of goods. So that subtracts out, that gives you a gross profit. And by the way, these have formulas built into them. So if you change this January to 900, see, automatically does the math for you. Isn't that cool? And I love math, don't get me wrong, but it's sure nice to have this thing set up so it adds and subtracts as you enter the figures. Now, it's not very tough, okay? Not very tough. Then you have all your expenses. You can change the name of the expenses as you see that you need them, right? Because you may not need all of these. You may want to change the names of some of these because you may have different things, okay? And each category then in QuickBooks would be an account, okay? Each category would be an account. So these are your accounts. You have a rent account, a utility account. Maybe you're going to break out telephones separately. Maybe you're going to add in the telephone that you have internet. You might go telephone/internet. Insurance for running your business, advertising, and whatever you do, if you go places to do your business, if you deliver supplies, if you deliver product, I had a gentleman who had a salsa business. He drove all over the place. One of his biggest expenses in delivering his salsa to the stores is mileage, okay? And even as a sole proprietor, my wife, real estate agent, talk about mileage, holy Toledo. And it's not inexpensive. Mileage is normally between 50, recent years, the last 20 anyway. The average write-off for mileage has been between 50 cents and 56, 57 cents a mile. And that takes into consideration all the work for your car. tune up, tires, oil changes, gas. So that's what that travel is for. You just have to track it, okay? And as you put them in, as you can see, it adds on line number 25. So all of the $500 rent, 50 utilities, 75 telephone, 40 insurances, it adds up. You look at the bottom of the sheet there, on line 25, your expenses were $789.75 in January. Your gross profit after cost of goods was subtracted was $800. So your profit for the month of January is $10.25. How about that? You could have a burger. About all you get on that one, right? You didn't make a lot of money in January. So again, I like to, when you were using this form, it's always good to input the expense, if you can, on your desktop when it happens. So you pay the rent on the first of the month. So what do? You put the rent right in there. Put the $500 rent in there. So you already know you paid the thing, right? You get your phone bill. You pay it. Boom. Put it in there, okay? Income, if you're using this document, you may wait till the end of the month to put the income in, or at least every 2 weeks if you got it coming in, because you're tracking it slowly, right? So you can do it that way. If you can do it daily, fabulous. It'd be a lot better, obviously, because then you would know immediately if you're losing money. One of the things you want to do with this tracking device, obviously, is to make sure you're not losing money. And if you are losing money, adjust as quickly as you possibly can, okay? Funny little note, I was telling David Walker, my boss, the other day, I said, my phone bill is terrible, my cell phone. And I hadn't looked at it for over a year, right? And I went over this last weekend, about a week ago, and I looked it up, and a bunch of stuff I didn't need. What do I need all this stuff? Fancy bells and whistles I don't need. Saved me $75 on my phone, on my cell phone bill. You know what I mean? You can make adjustments, okay? So tracking them and watching them is hugely important. So sales go across the top as the months go by. And as you can see in the final column, whoops, went too far. You can see in the final column here, there we go. It gives you annualized totals. How about that? So basically what we're saying there is that this is your profit and loss statement for the entire year as you build your year across. So in this particular case, if that was your income across with your cost of goods, your gross sales, total sales, was $19,700. Your cost of goods was $39.40. Okay. So your gross profit before operating expenses was $15,760, this column right here. Then you subtract off your annual expenses and look what you made. This bottom number right here, $7,365.25, guess what? That is what you're going to pay taxes on to the IRS. Okay. So this is easy to use. By the way, you'll get a blank one of these, so you don't have to, be worried about it. We'll send you one of these, okay? A blank one. Pretty cool. So you get a blank one of these, you can play with it, okay? Again, if you're not using QuickBooks, if you're not using a accounting program, if you're not sending your information into an accountant, CPA, bookkeeper, or whatever, that's what this is for, okay? It also makes you a little bit more understanding, I hope, of your sole proprietor business, where I like to say the rubber meets the road. The number that was utilized on a lot of these program loans that we had from the SBA specifically, okay? And a lot of the grants, there were city grants, county grants, there were CARES Act money being delivered in many, many forms to many, many businesses. And that number you needed to know. Not only did you need to know that number for 2020, which obviously was in many cases not very good, but you definitely needed to know what it was in 2019, because that was a better year than 2020 was in most cases. And the decisions to give you 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, all these dollar amounts that were given were made on this net profit number, majority of them, and gross sales. Those two numbers were magic when it came to getting assistance through these programs. Okay. Are there any questions on this document, David, that you can see? Or we're cool? Okay. All right. So let's see. So now we're back to my screen, right? Thanks. Okay, I'm going to put my Joe Dorco hat on. Joe Dorco is our accounting specialist. Unfortunately, he's on his way moving back east today, so he couldn't join us. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Joe's a neat guy, owner of Heavenly Taxes. So now we're going to take the information that we just put together on this form, the Excel spreadsheet, okay? And we're going to create a tax document. This is the other form that we found that many, many business people, even after like the last month when all this state grant money stuff became available, state of California, they still didn't know what a Schedule C was. Guess what? You're going to know now. You're going to know what a Schedule C is for a sole proprietor. Okay. So what the Schedule C does, and these are forms again that end up in your tax return, takes your income, all the revenue that you receive, okay? It's going to put it into the document. You're going to then post over from your Excel spreadsheet all the expenses, okay? And we'll show you what this looks like here in a second. All the expenses. And you're going to end up with a reporting number for federal and state government of your profits on the business. A lot of people, when you get to this point, are saying, wait a minute, I don't want to show a lot of profit because I don't want to have to pay a lot of taxes. I was in the banking industry for 25 years and made a lot of business loans and had a lot of people come in after the first of the year and they're bragging on the fact they made $1 million. I made $1 million, Joe. Wasn't that great? And I say to them, fantastic. What was your profit? Oh, zero. And they were coming into me to ask for a loan. Kind of difficult when you ask for a loan if you have zero profits. That means you got no money to pay for any extra debt. And then of course they'd always say something like, oh, well, I wrote off my kid's truck, whatever. So be careful what you wish for and make sure you show some profit. I know you're going to pay the IRS, you're going to pay some taxes on it. But if you want to expand, if you want to borrow money, show some profit, people, okay? Obviously, tracking expenses, you use software, easily track technology. Technically, when I took accounting in college many, many moons ago, we used paper spreadsheets. How about that? Hard to believe. David Walker, I think he remembers it as well. The old paper spreadsheets. And we'd have to write everything down. With this, there's no excuse with these computers. It does all the work for you. So compiling the business expense, use the profit and loss categories of your expenses. Don't forget cost of goods if you're selling a retail product. There's, again, another explanation of cost of goods. There are direct costs that can be directly linked to producing the physical product. If you're making a product, if you're producing and manufacturing, there's the term, a product, you can also count the cost of direct labor to build that product, the raw materials to build it, okay? Those count as well. And obviously the indirect costs are those ones listed in that second category on that Excel sheet: rent, utility, phone, advertising, insurance, all the other stuff. I call it operating expenses. And again, people can, you know, there's some food cost things you can do. There's gifts, entertainment, depreciation. It gets fancier if you have a lot of equipment in your business. If you have big, you know, manufacturing equipment, you're going to probably not be utilizing this type of tracking. You're going to need at least QuickBooks, because then it can calculate your assets and your depreciation numbers. So it becomes very, very detailed at that point. So no problem. Again, this particular course in tax prep is really made for sole proprietors with limited numbers of equipment, crazy expenses, no employees. That's what this particular webinar is about. Joe put this in here: non-deductible expenditures, bribes, okay, unless you're in the mafia. No, that's my, that's my situation. Lobbying costs, penalties, fines, political contributions. Joe put that in there. And then of course there's loopholes. Always good, in my opinion. I still do it to this day, even though I have a very simplified tax return. I use a local accounting group to do my taxes and verify my taxes for me. Always good to have somebody who's a professional in the field, in my opinion, to take a second look, even if it's like, you know, an online group like HR Block, you know, to take a peek at what you've done, even if you're doing your own taxes. Again, track your expenses. You can use software. There are phone apps out there as well. Take pictures of your receipts. Your phone becomes the shoebox. That's something. Your phone could become the shoebox. Obviously, pay your quarterly taxes on time. If you're always paying taxes, it's one thing very difficult for a small business owner to make sure they pay their quarterlies. I like that last one. Remember, making money is easy, keeping it's a challenge. There's the paying quarterly situation we just talked about. Okay, so let's look at the Schedule C. Any other questions at this point, David?
Thank you. Any good apps to track expenses?
Yeah, that one.
That one. I'll tell you what. I will. Unless David Walker has one that he knows about, I have never used an online tracker. Okay, an app. So I'm sorry to say I don't have that information that I can give to you at this time. But thank you. I will look that up for the next time I teach this class for a online expense tracking app.
So when you're getting started, is it best to, I mean, rather than paying like the QuickBooks or so is it best to start with Excel and then keep track and keep taking pictures? Is that the route to start? Again,
if you are a one-person operation, you're the business, and you're selling a service, I always suggest, you know, that you try the Excel sheet first, see how it works. Yeah. Like I said, I used it for 5 years in my case. Wendy was our QuickBooks specialist that was working here when I came to work here. And she's the one that convinced me to go ahead and convert, because that way I would know how QuickBooks now operates. Okay. But otherwise I'd still be using an Excel sheet, because I have like 2 income flows. That's all I got, right? I got my classes I teach, and I got people that get credit report reviews. That's all I have for income. So it was easy for me to use the Excel sheet because I could just plop it into the figures. It just depends on how intricate your business is, in my opinion. But you sure could use this Excel sheet to begin with, no doubt. And then if it becomes too cumbersome, then you can always switch, I did it mid-year in my case. I was like through June on my Excel sheet when Wendy assisted me getting it open on Excel, I mean on QuickBooks. So I just transferred the information over once the accounts were set up. The other thing to also think about is what your expenses are. If you've got 100 different expenses, the Excel sheet might not be the way to go. But if you got rent, lights, phone, insurance, mileage, the Excel sheet works great.
There's also some mileage apps out there that I'm told work really, really well. You might want to look into that. Just Google some of those. We're not allowed to endorse anything over any one thing over anything else, but I'm told there are some very, very good apps out there to track mileage.
Exactly.
And somebody, Cindy, put in the chat, to get an app that is an expense tracker, go to the Play Store for Android and put in expense trackers and look at what's best for your business. It's some very good advice there.
Wonderful. Did the Schedule C pop up, David, or no?
No, I don't see a Schedule C. I've got Q&A time up.
Still Q&A up, huh?
Yep.
Well, that's not good, huh? Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead real quick then. I'm going to stop share that. And I'm going to share that. And I'm going to share this.
Now we're seeing the Schedule C.
Oh, thank you.
Now we're seeing it, yeah.
Great. All right, so this is actually a fillable PDF of the Schedule C, as we promised that we would show you. And it's kind of an easy document. You got the name of the business, name of the owner, right? Tax ID number. For most of us as sole proprietorships, that's your social security number. If you have an EIN tax number, you can put it in there as well. Okay. Business address. Okay. How do you track your income? In my particular case, well, for this one, we used cash as the accounting method. Okay. And then as you can see, we have taken the information from the Excel spreadsheet and transferred it over to this sheet. So there are your total sales, which was the top line on the Excel sheet, 19,700 worth of gross income. They call it gross receipts, gross sales. A lot of these have names that are interchangeable. Gross revenue, gross sales, gross receipts, all mean the same thing. Cost of goods, there it is, the 3940 on the Excel sheet. And there again is your gross income, 15,760. At this point, you don't have to worry too much about it because you don't pay tax on gross income. You pay tax on the bottom line. So how do we get to the bottom line? Well, we take all the expenses and categorize them here. Okay. And they transfer from the Excel sheet. Some of them have specific other little add-on lines that you need, but so we consolidated them in here for you. So there's our total expense for the year, $8,395. And there's our tentative net profit, and then our line 31, which again is our net profit or loss. That line 31, again, became one of the most important pieces of information that a sole proprietor needed to apply for the PPP, Paycheck Protection Loan, when it came available. And everybody was running around crazy trying to figure out what that number was and how do I get it. So that's what formulated this class, everybody, was the fact that people didn't know what their net profit was for a given time period. So they asked for, the question was, what was your net profit for 2019? And people went, I don't know. So in this case, the number would have been $7,365. That's the net profit for the business in the year in which the Schedule C was produced. Okay? So that's how the funds go in on the Excel sheet. The expenses go out, and then they get transferred at year end to this document. Okay? To this document. If you do use an online service, Quicken, to do your taxes, any of the tax online programs that are available, my daughter does her little side business using this, and she does it online. I think she uses Quicken anyway. So whatever she does her taxes on, she does this form every year. Okay, she teaches art classes at night. So she has income, she has cost of goods, the easels, the paint, so that's her cost of goods. Then she has other expenses. She has mileage. She has insurance. So those all come off of here. And then she has a net profit line 31. Okay. So whether you do it yourself or whether you have it done, this is a hugely important document for all of us to know that it exists and how to get to it, no matter what. Okay. And I'll tell you, from the car fire, the campfire, and now COVID, that line 31 has been hugely important. All right. We'll stop share that. See if I put this back up one more time. Did that pop back up or not, David?
Yes, it did.
Oh, cool. Thank you all very much. Any other questions we can kill right at the end here?
I don't see any, but while we're waiting for people to perhaps put something in there, just a reminder, I put a link in the chat. I'm putting it in again. But at any rate, this is a link for you guys. Provide an evaluation for us. Let us know how good or how bad we did, where we can improve. Please be honest. We have thick skin and we just want to get better. We will also have that link in an email that we'll send to you. There will also be a link for the video that we've recorded here, linked, and we'll send the presentations, Joe's presentation and Mr. Castaneda's presentation. We'll send you the Excel file that Joe mentioned. And let's see, can we review again how sole proprietors with no payroll can qualify for PPP? Mr. Castaneda.
Yeah, that would be, so if you are just a sole proprietor, you have no employees and it's just you, you yourself can apply for the Paycheck Protection Program. And again, if it's used for your salary, the way it works, 60% has to be used for salary, 40% can be used for other things. And those things are listed out in the PowerPoint. But yes, if you don't have any employees, you can use it for your own personal salary. I hope that answers your question. One other thing too, I'd like to mention, the information Joe Rodola just covered is very, very good. information for a lot of small business owners. I've been working with the SBA about 25 years, and many times when people come to SBA to apply for a loan, and many times they're doing great. They have opportunity. They're looking to expand their business, and many times it comes down to what they had in their taxes for the last 2 years, and showing positive or good net profit is the key to getting the loans that you need to expand your business. And that's very important. Many times people like to do a lot of write-offs to minimize their profits, which is not a bad plan. But if you're looking to get a loan, if you're looking to expand your business and you need a loan, having good profitability is very wise, because that allows you to get more of a loan to expand your business. So this particular training that Joe put together, or the office there, it's very good. And that's something I think we need to do more of in our particular region, and probably a lot more of, because I've even seen individuals in business 10, 15 years that don't know this. Okay, so very good information. I'm happy to see this.
Okay. If you're going to be thank you, David. I appreciate that. If you're going to be a sole proprietor and would like to have a service business like consulting, do you need to register with the state? And if so, is it like doing business as? You want to take that, Joe, or you want me to? What? You go ahead, Joe.
I'll go ahead and throw what I got at it. Yeah. This, of course, this class technically is good for all over. And I know we have people that are on the call that probably from other areas, our little North State area. So this class, a lot of times we talk in terms of Shasta, Trinity, Tehama, Siskiyou County in the state of California. If you are living in, and I use my house as an office. Okay, so if you use your house as an office, where your house is located is where you get your license, business license. Business licenses normally are only required in a city that are incorporated. So up here in Redding area, Shasta County area, there are only 3 incorporated areas: Anderson, Redding, Shasta Lake. So if your home was in Shasta Lake, that's where you get your business license. Mine's in Redding. I have my business license in Redding. I'm a consultant also, okay? I use my name, we have another class, How to Start a Business. Please join us. I teach that monthly. That's good. Is that a plug? No? There's my plug. So, but anyway, it goes through this. I use my Rodola last name in the name of my business, so I didn't have to file a fictitious name. Save me some time and some money, okay? So Joe did consulting. I was open in less than a week. From the time I decided to do it to the time I got my license and hung my shingle, got my print business cards, 7 days, okay? So it just depends on where you live as to how you do it. If you have an office space, it's where your office is located that you get the license, okay? And for consulting businesses, a business license in the city where you have your business is all that's necessary. Okay. And a fictitious name if you don't use your last name in the business.
Yeah. Where's the best place to get help and support for PUA? I don't qualify for loans, or PPP. Pandemic unemployment assistance. I'm assuming through the EDD and that sort of thing, I assume, Joe?
Yeah, you're right. It's unfortunate we don't have a lot of communication contact, but it's been a real issue. And it is EDD, your local unemployment office, to get assistance. It's been the word challenge comes up. It definitely has been a challenge. So, but EDD knows all of that.
I'm sorry, say that again. You kind of cut out.
Oh, yeah, EDD handles all of that.
EDD.
Yeah.
And Wayne's waving. Go ahead, Wayne.
Hi there. Could you put a link for Joe's next class, Starting a Business? Thank you.
It's a good idea. You can get that, by the way. I'll put the link in. You can also get that on our website, sbdcsc.org, but I'll put the link in there. And also, Mr. Castaneda put in a link that would be really valuable for anybody who's starting a business. It's calgold.ca.gov. If you're in California and you want to know what the requirements are for where you're at to start a business, go to that website. That's a very, very valuable website with a lot of good information. So, Joe, I'll let you look at the, see if any more questions come in, Joe, while I grab the next how to start your business link.
Okay.
Here we go. That'll give you the information there for registering for how to start your business. That class will be on Thursday, February 18th at 4 p.m.
It's coming up.
Yeah.
Our short month.
Okay.
Short month.
And if you're outside of Shasta or Trinity counties and you want to talk to your SBDC, there's one near you. There's over 1,000 centers, or I'm sorry, there's actually a little under 1,000 centers throughout the country, covering every county in America. So Google it, go to America's SBDC I think it's .org, and you can find your local SBDC center if you're not in our area. If you're in our area, you're in the best area. But if you're not,
That's right.
that's where you find the one near you and contact them. Okay, I don't see any more questions. If you do have any more questions, contact us. We will be sending all that stuff out to you. Thank you so much for attending, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, David.